He felt nameless in the lone lands, and he treasured the memories of being called something familiar by a kind voice. Even now, when the morning was still young and cold, he could feel the wind creeping into the sheltered valley and blowing away all doubts concerning the coming of the winter. Further north, the earth rose below the many limbs of the pine trees. Sprawling uphill, they formed a black and shapeless forest, towering above the banks of fog trapped in the valley. This is the Cloaked Dell, a strange country of snow and slope, known by the Ironlanders of the East Haven as the first untamed forest of the deep wilds and the house of the myths and legends. Only the ones bound by oath travel so far on the wildlands. Nameless carries a cape, and on it is embroidered the mark of the Ironsworn, the dauntless people of these lands, who travel far and wide, who cast their vows into iron, and swear to carry the burdens of the protectors of this land. Even if it means entering the house of myth in pursuit of a foe, only for it to be revealed a fell and formidable beast. Nameless is immersed in a long hunt he began days ago. His trail now is running cold, and he's looking for any sign that will tell that indeed this creature has been here in the last day. Broken branches and marks on the ground, those could tell such a story. Time is against him, and with the winds of winter already in the skies, soon the passages back home will be choked with snow. Nameless is securing an advantage to find this creature sooner than later. The move says the following: when you assess a situation, make preparations or attempt to gain leverage, envision your action and roll. If you act, and in this case that's gonna be expertise, insight or observation, we roll plus wits. Nameless also has the Wild Blood asset, which applies when he's securing an advantage using his knowledge of tracking woodcraft and woodland creatures, adding a +1 to the roll. So we're rolling wits, giving a result of 3. And we also roll the challenge die, resulting in a miss. So we have the first roll being a miss in this episode. In a miss, it says that you fail or your assumptions betray you. Pay the price. When you suffer the outcome of a move, choose one. Make the most obvious negative outcome happen. So instead of that, we're actually rolling on their pay the price table for a bit of randomness. And it says, roll again and apply the result, but make it worse. If you roll this result yet again, think of something dreadful. Okay. So the new result is, the current situation worsens. Let's see how that turns out. I'm reducing momentum by 2 to represent a contiguous effort to make this search. Snow-draped hills interpose the ragged man's path off of the valley. At this height, he feels the last morning breeze in his face, as warm as it can be and scented with pine trees. With a hooded gaze, he surveys the lands below, but they only shine white back at him, undisturbed by his quest. That's when he finds a small patch of ground, protected by overarching branches, at the edge of an elevated plateau, with half-covered patterns of tracks, big tracks, as if the creature itself was trying to hide them. Could it be intelligent? He thought, almost in despair. The creature's tracks were half invisible in the snow, and they swayed left and right, dodging obvious paths. But now Nameless could see it. It went all the way into the Cloaked Dell, behind the canopies of great trees. his eyes looking at the sky, seeing that most of the morning is now gone. But at least he had a track to follow. Down the other side of the hill he knew where to go. But the next valley were more wicked than the other. It was like it hoarded snow with greed, transforming the way to the cloaked dell into a treacherous thing. Nameless is now facing the danger of the path ahead of him. The move says, when you attempt something risky or react to an imminent threat, envision an action and roll. If you act with, in this case that's gonna be forceful defense, because I imagine him trudging through the snow, meaning he will roll with iron. And this time we have no assets helping us. So rolling the dice for iron, I get a 7, which is pretty good. And in the challenge die, we get 7 and a 4, which means this is a weak hit. With such a result, we succeed but face a troublesome cost. We get to choose this cost. If you're delayed, lose adventure, or face a new danger. No, we already have no momentum. You're tired or hurts doesn't match, I think. So I'm going with you're dispirited or afraid. Just for the thought that this creature could be intelligent. And so we must endure stress. When you face mental shock or despair, suffer a spirit equal to your foe's rank or as appropriate to the situation, then roll plus heart or plus spirit, whichever is higher. So we're reducing the spirit by 1, this is a troublesome situation. Spirit is higher because it's 4, so we're rolling plus 4. Our result is 6, which is also pretty good. But the challenge die are tough. So we get another miss. This time it says you also suffer -1 momentum and other things that does not apply. So because we had a success on the face danger, we get to add progress on our scene. But also because we failed, we must add a point of woe. So we are adding 3 progress because this is a troublesome scene and 1 point of woe because of failure. As the boots of the lonely man crunch the snow beneath the hills, the man wearing them feels fear. Not for the beast that is stalking these woods, not for the winter that hails on his head, but on the thought that he might not come home. He relinquishes the idea of death as something to be scared of. But in his descent from the snowy hills, he thinks of his family and his friends down in the south, where the land is green, safe, and he's allowed to carry a name. These thoughts would soon abandon him, for the shadow of the great trees of the cloaked dale calls for his attention. Nameless uses his lair asset, and when he gathers information by tracking a beast of horror, we get to add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. I envision a dark curiosity taking over him, a looming doubt concerning his capabilities to kill his quarry. So that means he's gathering information. The move reads, when you search an area, ask questions, conduct an investigation, or follow a track, roll plus wits. And if you act within a community or ask questions of a person whom you share a bond with, add +1. So I'm taking that +1 as well because he's protecting the communities of the south, which he has a bond with. So rolling the action die gives me 6 +2, so that makes an 8, a great value. And rolling the challenge dice we get a 7 and a 10, a 10! No! So this makes it a weak hit again. A result that implies the information complicates your quest or introduces a new danger. Envision what you discover and take +1 momentum. So because of Slayer we actually add +2 momentum, which brings us from -1 back again to 1. As for the new information, we're rolling on the action and theme random tables to decide what is it that we discover. Now we have to create something up with Hold Stranger. He can see his breath under his nose, but nothing can he hear beyond the forest. A bedazzling silence grows, and his tired eyes that looks at the tracks on the ground cannot help but be captured by the mist, eerie and captivating. He discovers mist tendrils hovering above him like if they were alive. They glow in a pale soft light of blue and silver, diffuminating the rays of sun from beyond the canopies. His mind escapes to a timeless place, where the ghosts of the past and the present haunt him evermore. I must focus. He says in vain for himself, fighting for his mind. He hears his children calling his name, and he fears others could hear it as well, giving them power over him. Nameless now is facing the danger of fogs at the foot of the hills. He's doing that with courage to fulfill his vow, and then he must roll with heart. So rolling the action die here gives me a 4, not very good. The challenge die gives me a double 7, which means this is a miss with a match. We have to add a twist. On a miss, you fail, or your progress is undermined by a dramatic and costly turn of events. Pay the price. So rolling on the pay the price table, we get the current situation worsens. We don't want that, we just got this one. So instead of that, we get a surprising development complicates your quest, okay? Since we failed the face danger, we also gotta add a point of woe to our quest, to our scene, and no progress. So we have to create a new problem, and because we also have a match, we need a major plot twist, which will be rolling to be... You are too late. Sounds very harsh right now. And speaking of harsh, I was just remembering that our first roll here was secure an advantage, and it actually missed. So when that happens, we also have to add a point of woe to the scene, which I forgot and I'll be adding now. So we have a total of 3 points of woe and 3 progress. Not looking good.
The path winded through the dell, flanked by gnarled trees who extended sharp branches in protest of the wanderer's presence. The snow below the limbs of the pine trees were decorated with broad claw marks, not older than a day. He soon discovers that the mist conjures more than just illusions. It has a mind on its own, and it thirsts for his knowledge. The Ironsworn's shoulders were stiff with tension, and his gaze was in erratic pursuit of half-shrouded ghosts asking for his name. He felt his mind under watch, and while bathed in the pockets of mists, he made all efforts to suppress his thoughts, apprehensive that they could be stolen. But he noticed it too late. A haunting melody springs forth from the deathly silence of the cloaked dell. Nameless holds his breath when he hears it, for he recognizes the ballad of his people, a song about the proud farmers of his frigid homeland, the Freyhau. Never to his knowledge the song was played in such faraway north and into wild lands like this. And to make matter worse, he could not see anyone singing it. Nameless now is facing the stress of having his mind being pried open and the knowledge being demonstrated in front of him by something unnatural. This is a dangerous situation, so I'm reducing spirit by 2. We have to roll with the highest between our current spirit or heart, and in this case it's the same, both are set to 2. So rolling the dice here, I get 3, which is that's not good at all. And rolling the challenge die, we get 3 and a 3 and a 8. Great, so it's another miss, which also means we're taking a -1 to momentum. Unnerved and unbalanced, Nameless trip on a mossy rock and fall into the roots of a broad oak down a slippery slope. There he sees the fog closing in on him, and soon he is desperate, clinging into his faith. Nameless is securing an advantage, using his devotant path, which happens whenever we're saying our daily prayers or asking for our God to grant us a blessing. In this case, he's praying to Odin the Wise, using his wit's status, asking for protection. Rolling the action die, I get a 6, which is good. And rolling the dreaded challenge die, I get a 4 and a 9, resulting in a weak hit, which implies that our advantage is short-lived and we take +1 momentum. Hail Odin, our father, wise and strong, protector of the realms where I belong. Grant me courage as I face this dark day. Guide me with wisdom, light my way. Oh, Odin, with ravens at your side, watching over me, whom I confide. Shield me from harm with your fierce might. In battles of life, be my guiding light. Soon a swoosh of angry gust brews in the mist, and dense threads encircles the pine uphill, gathering above the nameless Ironsworn. He could swear the black forest was cursing him in the crisp voices of the evergreen branches rustling against a foul winter storm.
From Freyhall and Interloper hills, and 2 children he bears. Forsaken shall be his name, and of his old gods.
The mists enveloped him, and he could feel it in his lungs, slowly stealing his secrets. He felt a boiling desire to swear an iron vow in service of ill-favored gods, enemies of the Aesir. To touch iron too, to give meaning for the words that he was about to say. Until he sees a raven perched at the top of the pine tree, and in a small moment of comfort, he rises up from the roots, fighting to be disentangled before it's too late, mustering up our energy he can. Nameless is facing the danger of being overpowered by this fog. He is reacting to an imminent threat, and with forceful defense, he's trying to break his imprisonment from the roots and flee from the fog. Thus, we're gonna roll with iron. Rolling the action die and not another bonus, I get a 5. And for the challenge die, I get a 6 and a 3. Making this a weak hit. On a weak hit, we succeed, but we face a troublesome cost, and we got to choose that cost as well. I'm picking that you are tired or hurt, and thus I'm enduring 1 harm. So endure harm triggers whenever we face physical damage, and we have to suffer health equal to the foe's rank, and in this case it's gonna be troublesome, that is 1 health. And then we roll with the highest between health or iron. And in this case, that's gonna be health because we have 4 health. So rolling the action die, I get a 6. And rolling the challenge die, I get a 3 and a 6. So that's another weak hit. And it says that we press on. So because we also got a weak hit in the face danger, we get to add 3 progress to our scenario because it's a troublesome scenario. But also because we failed, we also have to add a point of woe. Since we now have 4 points of woe, which is the maximum, we are forced to finish this scenario. Which means that we gotta run 2 challenge die and compare it against the progress we accumulated up to this point, which is 6 progress. Rolling both action dice, I get a 7 and a 3, which means this entire scene has yielded into a weak hit. In game terms, this means that Nameless achieves what he was looking for, but he does not do so without a cost. Nameless struggled to escape the grasp of the great oak roots. Meanwhile, all around him the fogs gathered everywhere. He shifts and tries to find his place, until he encounters himself at the edge of the hill. He rises and prepares himself to climb down the fastest he can, when his cape gets entangled in one of the sharp branches of the pine trees around him, and when he jumps, he gets hanged, tethered by his Ironsworn cloak, pressuring his neck. He begins to suffocate, until finally, in a precise strike, he can gather his cloak back again, releasing it from the branches and falling downhill. In grunts and mumbles he rolls down, escaping the fog, still hearing the ballad ringing uphill. He feels the shadowy presence no more, but he'll be forever in doubt as to how much it knew about him now. Could it really know its children? Certainly it knew the place he was born, but it was not time for such thoughts. He heard a calm stream tumbling down a nearby waterfall. A small pool was there, around a grove of trees, and near the rocks of the slope. But the Ironsworn felt purposeful and eager to return home. He grit his teeth and prepared his steel. For before him he saw the den of the creature embedded in shadows. And he was one step closer of completing his vow.